What tics do you have?
What tics do I have?
Did you have?
Did I have in all my years of having Tourette's?
Or do now?
Okay.
What kind of tics do you have?
My worst one right now is I go like that a lot.
Yeah, I blink a lot too.
And then like roll my eyes back.
I hum.
That's a new tic.
I move my nose and mouth.
And I go like this with my hands when I'm nervous.
Yeah, I shake.
I'm moving my eyes up, it gives me a headache. Also shaking my head, doing this, that's 3. Bending down, 4. Making vocal tics like, ooh, and ooh, that's 6.
Gonna get the nipple rubbing tic out of the way now.
You serious?
The cursing tics are really bad. This, that's 8. And it just comes out. And I don't want it to happen.
When I'm eating, I hum as I eat things.
No, there's only 9, but I forget the 9th one.
And I feel so bad that I have to do that out loud.
The minute clip you just watched is showing a variety of tics individuals with Tourette's syndrome have. Tourette's is an invisible disability, which means it's a disability that is not immediately apparent compared to a physical disability, such as an individual with a mobility limitation. Tourette's typically begins with small motor tics on the face and may progress eventually into aggressive tics or vocalizations, such as uttering nonsense words, and are typically explosive. These are known as simple or complex motor or phonic tics, which are completely involuntary and uncontrollable to some extent. Unfortunately, suppressing the tics in certain situations, when possible, exacerbates the need to complete the tic. What's interesting about Tourette's, as seen in the short clip, the frequency and duration of these tics are highly variable between individuals, meaning the subjective feelings people experience may differ to some extent. Stigma is an incredibly powerful thing in our society. It is a major barrier in public participation, feelings of social inclusion, and self-identification for people living with invisible disabilities. We all actively participate in this, wittingly or unwittingly. It illustrates the fact that we can be exceptionally cruel to other people based on very rigid standards of cultural normality, which are entirely cultural constructions based loosely on the normative biological body. For example, most people do not have Tourette's, and therefore it is a deviation from the biological normal. But what we do with that in respect to public reaction is up to everyone in society. Stigma is the greatest barrier for social inclusion, and it is meant to exclude people because they are defined by people and applied to others, which is why they are so powerful. I'm going to play another short clip from the same video made by the Tourette's Syndrome Association, video of people living with Tourette's, to illustrate the feelings these individuals experience on a daily basis simply because they are not a part of the normative biological normal.
Sometimes I cry about my Tourette's because I feel like I'm not like the other kids.
I've cried too because of my tics. It's scary knowing that, you do something that no one else does around you, right?
Usually, if you say it's a big part of your life, it's a good thing. Like, this is the biggest part of my life, and I love this. But this is the biggest part of my life, and I hate this.
It's like Tourette's is like a big roadblock, which can get in your way of doing, it just stops you from doing all these other things.
It's something that's an antagonist to you, and it's just trying to get you.
Tourette's is the worst.
It's a weird condition.
These adolescent individuals' entire existence and sense of self is affected due to the rigid standards of cultural normality living with Tourette's. Their self is a mental image that they have of what, who, and how they are, and is a concept that relies on the ability to treat themselves as a concept of their own awareness. They are given a sense of self over time through socialization, and as they think about what people think upon themselves, they become that person in their head. They learn who they are by the cues people give them. This means they constantly let people into their head, and the autonomy they have to be self-directed is reduced. In a classroom setting, as described in the video, these adolescents with Tourette's are likely to be stared at and judged as he or she deviates from the biological normal. And as humans, we pick these differences apart, sometimes without even noticing it. If the tics are auditory in nature, they are going to be more noticeable for the people around the class, versus a motor tic, where individuals have to be directly looking at someone to identify. In the classroom setting again, the individual with Tourette's will constantly be taking cues from the environment and building them into their self-conception. Feeling different, being negatively judged, feelings of exclusion, emotions of embarrassment and anxiety would be common experiences these individuals would subjectively feel in a situation such as the classroom environment. But this extends far beyond the classroom and into every social situation we can possibly think of, like a grocery store, movie theater, library, sporting event, at the gym, a restaurant, etc. Unfortunately, most of the time, these adolescents are not thinkers of their own self-thoughts, meaning they are thinking about what other people are thinking about themselves. And if this is the case, they would build the mental conception of themselves as lesser of an individual. This is very problematic because the sense of self for the individual with Tourette's is being created from other people around them. And now they are not just a person with a disability, but now their sense of self is ill. When these individuals are put into a different conceptual mindset non-verbally, who they are socially changes, and therefore changes their sense of self. Briefly think about how these individuals view themselves based on what I just said. Other human beings are going into these minds of these kids and engraving negative thoughts of who they are, which they will become accustomed to and believe. To further illustrate this, specific quotes from the video that were not shown in previous clips included statements such as, "In the 2nd grade, I had a tic that put me in my own separate reading corner. It felt like physical isolation, confusion, and embarrassment." Another kid said, "It bothered me because when I tic, some people notice it." One of the young boys pointed out, "When I play Foursquare, I can't really fit in." The other boy said, "This girl pointed out to her friend, 'Watch this guy scream. I've been embarrassed at school so many times.'" The young girl in the video said, "I feel like I'm not like the other kids." And lastly, the other kid in the video said, "I hope people won't make fun of me and won't bully me in middle school and high school." Despite other individuals inducing negativity upon someone's sense of self living with Tourette's, it's important to highlight what we can do to help spread awareness and bridge the gap between acceptance of everyone and eliminating the idea of a normal human being, which in itself is a stereotype. Education can potentially be the largest psychosocial treatment for people with Tourette's syndrome. Educating parents, families, schools, and the community on such a disorder can help decrease the stigma towards these innocent individuals living with Tourette's. For example, one of the boys in the full video from the Tourette's Association made a statement, "There's thousands of kids in my school that don't even know what I have." In order to eliminate stigmatic environments, education as to what the disability is, how it affects them, and what you should do to help and include them in everyday life is critical. Every conversation we engage in has a powerful impact on ourselves. Interacting with an individual with Tourette's the same way you would anyone else can have a huge impact, and it is this repeated exposure over time these individuals need to eliminate those subjective feelings of being a non-normative biological body. Just think about the impact that would have on someone with Tourette's, where they are accepted by all in a comforting environment. There's no need to be embarrassed, anxious, scared, avoidant, and most importantly, they can be themselves because other people accept them. With this, barriers of social inclusion can be eliminated. That alone can allow the individual with Tourette's to go and participate in all the activities they normally would, without the worry about other people treating them differently or making them feel unwanted. They can go out with friends for food. They can hang out after school at the playground. They can run around and play games with their friends. These are all the things essential for development, and having positive public participation, feelings of social inclusion, and positive self-identification can change the lives of the individual living with Tourette's. We are all human, and we are all created equal. Just because an individual isn't like the majority of the population does not mean they should be treated as a misfit into society. Rather, we need to accept everybody for who they are, as this will have tremendous positive adaptations on their sense of self.